Howdy, y'all. Howdy, y'all. We're going to roll right into what I learned this week. It is 10:02 in the p.m. on Friday evening. And ain't gonna lie, I'm pretty tired. But I want to get this in because I don't want to do it tomorrow morning. So that's what we're going to do. Ask what we're going to do. Don't know if anyone signed into Facebook on Friday evenings, but we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Larry Moore, my friend, welcome, buddy. Hey, Larry, can you do me a favor? Do you have my phone number? If I fall asleep, can you shoot me a message? Make my phone rattle or something. Make my phone vibrate, something. Wake me up there, would you? Let's do it. It's easy to just I'm just gonna start, man. I'm just gonna start. 1, 2, 3. Good Saturday afternoon, my friends. This is a Spaniard. I'm recording on Friday night, so it's 10:03 p.m. on Friday night. I'm Facebook Living it. My eyes are currently shut. They were currently shut, and now they're open. But I'm tired. I'm tired, but we got to get this done. I listen to Jocko a lot, and many of the things he says stick in my mind. And there was a post that he put out not too long ago about training, about working out, and he said something to the effect that he didn't feel good, but he did something, and something's better than nothing. And I kind of feel kind of taking that mindset into this right now. I don't feel at my best. But I'm certain that I want to do this. I'm certain that I would rather do it tonight than tomorrow morning, and I can feel the energy coming my way. But it's one of those things where I thought, man, just do it, right? Just do it. Just do it, and you will have done it. So that is the intro to what I learned this week, and this is the 77th week that I've recorded and created one of these documents and actually emailed it out. Started recording them, not certain, to be honest, when I started recording these, but it's really neat. I was talking to my Rob, whom I work with by way of Food Service Solutions, and he said something about the he was paying me a compliment, but he said something about the maniacal system that I have for learning, and we talked a little bit about it, and I really liked that idea. But these are what I learned this week. It is a culmination of what I learned this week. It sounds so simple, but there's a system that I have in place to keep this knowledge fresh in my mind. Read it, underline it, write it down, think about it, write it down again, talk about it. So it really is becoming ingrained in my psyche. I give a talk tomorrow, but actually it'll be today or yesterday or whatever when you listen to it, but I give a talk tomorrow, and it's just exciting to go there and know that all these things are just going to pop out one way or another. So I'm reading Kevin Hart's book, I Can't Make This Up, Life Lessons, and I so connect with this book. Performers and entertainers, I connect with their books because I feel like they do such a tremendous job of sharing the fight, right? Sharing the struggle, sharing the ups and the downs. And I've aligned this book with Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the Nike book, over and over and over. But like, really and truly, there are so many ups and downs and lefts and rights that it's like, wait a minute. When is this? Oh my gosh, it happened again. But a lot of money, not a lot of money. This gets a contract for this, then this gets canceled. Like it's fascinating. It's fascinating, and it's so inspiring to read, because doggone it, if Kevin Hart can do it, we can do it. So if you'd like to get this document, go to my website, charliespaniard.com, opt into the email list, and I'll send that out the end of every week, normally on Friday afternoons. But let's dive into the content, what I learned this week. So there's a quote, and I had heard The Rock, I had heard or seen The Rock post this, and Kevin Hart said the same thing. Now, they work together, they're in movies together. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. But in reading the book, I read Kevin Hart say this, quote, "If you stay ready, you don't ever have to worry about getting ready." Right? And when I did this on AM Excellence, this came from AMX, I think 561. The question was, well, for what do you have to get ready, right? Or for what do you have to stay ready? And the answer is everything. everything. There's like this physical and mental and emotional and psychological component to life, right? And by being ready, then you're always ready. So I have a talk tomorrow, right? Do I know exactly what I'm going to say? No, I'm going to go there. I'm going to do what I do, right? But I know that I'm ready because I practice every single stinking day. I do the work every day. And that's kind of the attitude, the mindset. It's like if you take care of your mind and body on a daily basis, think about this. You take care of your mind and body on a daily basis, there's virtually nothing that you're not ready for. Any physical feat or challenge, any mental feat or challenge, you're going to be ready because you're going to be primed, right? You're going to be primed physically and mentally. If you stay ready, you don't ever have to worry about getting ready. Ponte listo, right? That's what we say. Get ready. Ponte listo, vamos. Get ready. We're going. The next bullet point. I hope I remember, right? I hope I remember. I love talking. I love getting on stage because I truly never know. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to be me in the moment and give all of me in that moment. In this moment, I may have said this thing. In that moment, I may have said that thing. I'm telling you, I hope I remember in that moment, tomorrow, today, yesterday, whenever you listen to this. I hope I remember this at the end. This is a really freaking cool principle, thought, process, sentence, quote from Kevin Hart. He said, quote, he's talking about the difference between amateur and professional. He says, the unsuccessful get halfway to the finish line, then turn around. The successful get halfway, then keep going. Both run the same distance, but only one makes it to the finish line. Right? So the unsuccessful get halfway and they turn around. Too hard, man. I'm going home. The successful get halfway, they get to the line and they say, oh, I'm just going to keep going. They both run the same distance, but only one of them gets to the finish line. Think about that. Right? We're all fighting. We're all moving. We're all shaking. We all have our stuff. And the ones that win are simply the ones that keep going. I'm telling you. Dredd and I are two of the most studious people you could ever meet, right? That's the theme that we just keep bouncing off each other. It's just, it can't not work because we just won't quit. And that's the theme I'm telling you, right? Get ready, right? Stay ready all the time so you don't have to get ready. And then just keep going. It's like prepare yourself physically, prepare yourself mentally, and then fight the fight day in and day out. And it just can't not work, right? That's the name of the thing, because you'll make it stinking work. Moving on to the next bullet point, talking about AMX kids. I was talking with Rob and Food Service Solutions today about some potential ideas for AMX kids. To me it's so much more than a passion project. To me it's like it makes so much sense. Teaching these young kids, middle schoolers, that reading, that learning, that lifelong learning is a ginormous key to life, right? I'm not even going to say success or happiness, but it's a ginormous component and key to life. So if you can sink that hook in, right? If you can sink that hook in now, the lifelong learning, gonna sink it in now at a young age, boom, like the opportunities are endless, right? There's no limit to it. So I encourage you, please, if you have a young person in your life, bring AMX kids into their lives, right? Bring it into their lives. They're about 15, 20-minute episodes. They teach life lessons through middle school age books. In this week's episode, I touch on welcoming the new kid, right? Because who likes to be the new kid? I talk about fueling our minds and bodies. Again, going back to the idea of physical, mental preparation. And then also focus on what's truly important, right? So all of those things are tied into a 15, 20-minute fun, energetic episode, lesson, right? But it's up to us, me, you, everyone, teachers, coaches, etc., to bring these episodes to their young people's lives. Kevin Hart's in Hollywood, right? So he's moving around LA. He's on the grind with comedy. He gets into movies and television. And he has so many ups and downs, right? Like he hits the ground running, then he gets smacked in the face, then he hits the ground running, then he gets smacked in the face. He talks about his early days in Hollywood, right? And he talks about this, this constant battle and this constant struggle of like, I made it, didn't make it, almost making it, didn't make it, made it, boom, got smacked back down. He says this about his early days in Hollywood. No became as much a part of my life in LA as traffic jams and parking tickets. No, right? The word no became as much a part of his life in LA as traffic jams and parking tickets. I want to connect that to another principle, a success principle by Jack Canfield. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. No, right? Kevin Hart goes on to say, I don't think I included in this in the blueprint here, but he goes on to say that he would go to auditions that he didn't even, like, there was not a chance in heck that he would get, but he went just so he would get used to being judged. Who does that? I'll tell you who does it. Like the hottest comedian on earth, that's who does it. So if the hottest comedian on earth is doing it, then that's telling me that, hey, Spaniard, maybe you should do that. Maybe you should get comfortable being judged. Maybe you should get comfortable being told no. And then that's talking to you too. It's like the clues are there. Success leaves clues. I talked a little bit in AMX, and I read in the book, and it's been in different media with Kevin Hart and how he built up his following, his own personal following and his influence as a person and an artist, and he took it into his own hands. And he got used to the no, and then thought, what can I do about this? And then he stinking did something about it. So at the end of the day, I'm going back to the quote that's written on a scrap paper on my desk right in front of me. Just keep going, don't stop. Get used to no. And just keep going, don't stop. Talking about those no's, right? Talking about the no's. So, I just listened to Diamond Dallas Page, DDP, and he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I've developed a relationship with DDP, and I love it. I love DDP. Why? I just did a session 2 days ago. I might actually do a session after I'm done recording. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but I'll get it done in the next day or two. And he talks about owning it. His new book is called Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It. And he goes on to say, well, what's it? It is whatever, right? It's owning it. You own it, whatever you're doing. If you're a teacher, you own it. If you're a math teacher, you own math. If you're a Spanish teacher, you own Spanish. If you're a fighter, you own the cage. If you're a strength and conditioning coach, you own that gym, right? That's what we're talking about, owning it. So Kevin Hart, like I said before, these setbacks, they were just constant. Like it was up and down. It really and truly started to keep track of. But after a string of these setbacks, he says this, quote, "It was time for me to take my career back into my own hands and get on my grind again." The comedy grind. Within a month, I was on the road, and listen to this. This line is one of the most powerful lines in the book because it's truth. It's the direct result of his work and his time, right? It's work plus time. So he says, and take my career in my own hands, get on my grind again. Within a month, I was on the road, and this is the sentence, and that's when the quiet storm of Kevin Hart began. The quiet storm of Kevin Hart. What does that mean, the quiet storm? That means that he was going club to club, college to college, hole in the wall to hole in the wall, one by one, picking up a new fan here, a new fan there, in the quiet storm, right? It wasn't like a crash down the door, kicking in, I got my million followers behind me. No, it was like, I have one, then I have three, and then I got 6 fans, and then like 8 fans, and then 12 fans. That's the quiet storm, and it's brewing and brewing and brewing and brewing. And he understood that. And he put in the work such that happened. And to me, that's extreme ownership. Extreme ownership. The book, extreme ownership, accountability. That's what we're talking about. Kevin Hart said, no. I'm not okay with this. I want this. And he went out and he got it. And he put in the work. And he hit the road. And he put up with the BS. And that's when the quiet storm of Kevin Hart began. Talking about extreme ownership. Talking about Leif Babin and Jocko Willink. The book, Extreme Ownership. Their company, Echelon Front. I was able to go up to a jiu-jitsu camp in Maine. It was in Farmington, Maine, I believe the town was. Camp Laurel. It was a beautiful camp in Maine, Camp Laurel, and it's a host to kids. It's a kids camp, like I think they said 7 to 15 years old. Kids go up there, spend almost 8 weeks there for the summer. Beautiful, scenic place. But this was a jiu-jitsu camp. I went up there for jiu-jitsu, but I also went up there to be around winners. I went up there to be around the Echelon Front team. I went up there to be around Origin USA and Origin BJJ. So Origin is a company that that Pete started, right? That Pete Roberts started, and then he later on, years later, he connected with Jocko, and he believes in this thing, right? Like Pete Roberts and Origin BJJ, they believe in the American worker. They are passionate about textiles. They are passionate about quality and proper respect, right? Respect for the craft. The craft. What is the craft? The same thing DDP says. What is it? It is whatever it is. The craft is your craft. What are you in? Do you own a gym? Are you a gym owner? Do you sell insurance? Do you play basketball? Do you wrestle? Do you fight? Are you a stay-at-home parent? Are you a neighborhood whatever? Like, that's your craft. And the inspiring thing about being around Pete and being around Origin and watching this camp, and even, let's take it down to the instructors, the BJJ instructors. Alexei and Dedeco, and I'm smiling because how fun these guys are. And Raffaello, that's their craft. And I'm watching them with the passion. Like these men, these black belts, Dedeco and Alexei, I mean, they've been black belts for, I think he said they were doing it for like 37 years. And you watch them, and it garners this respect. I don't even, you could not even know a thing about jiu-jitsu, but when you look at someone who has studied a craft for 37 years, you can't not respect it. Even if you don't even do the sport, you can't not respect it. I respect plenty of people who do plenty of stuff that I don't like, I don't care about, but I care about the fact that they care so much about it. So it was just a neat opportunity to be around that, to be around the pride, and to be around the sense of achievement and fulfillment that these people put into their work, right? Going to the Origin factory and like watching real people on real sewing machines with real fabric put their heart and soul into this. I mean, you can't help but be inspired. And then sitting with the Echelon Front team, with these leaders, right? These are leadership consultants. They work with some of the biggest companies in the United States and maybe even the world. These guys have been in combat. They know the rules of combat, and they apply those rules of combat to life. So when I'm a 37-year-old kind of developing business owner, and I'm able to sit there and I'm able to talk to these big timers, and they're just sitting there eating, chatting with the boys, it's like, holy cow, this is really neat. And in the episode that aired on Thursday, I said this: they're always listening. They're looking you in the eyes and listening to what you have to say. I would ask questions. They would offer insight and advice in life and business. So I'm fortunate to learn directly from these people, directly from them. I'm putting myself in the room where they are, and I'm asking the questions, taking mental notes, maybe even physical notes, and I'm processing it, bouncing ideas off Dread, and building on it. You have that opportunity. We all have that opportunity. Invest in it. Invest in yourself. Invest in those opportunities. Maybe you can't make a trip up to Maine. Well, guess what? You can hop on the podcast. You can buy the books. You can scour and devour every episode. You could call Origin Factory and say, Pete, I'm fascinated by what you're building. I'd love to help. How can I help? Even from a distance. You can put yourself into the mix, right? You can step into the fray or break the fringe there, right? Let's get past the ruffles and let's get to the real deal. You have that opportunity, so don't sit on the outside and kind of be like, well, I wish I would. No, F wishing. It's time to take it into your own hands, a la Kevin Hart, right? The quiet storm, right? The quiet storm of Adam, the quiet storm of Justin, the quiet storm of Spaniard, the quiet storm of Dread, the quiet storm of Tori. Like these are, that's it. But you can't have the quiet storm lead to the ginormous storm without putting in the work to make that quiet storm. So it's a beautiful cycle. It's a tremendous cycle, and one that I'm just absolutely fascinated. Last night, I spent the day yesterday at West Point, United States Military Academy, and I went to a leadership and diversity conference. And I was watching, anyone from cadets to the superintendent to the commandant to the dean, all kinds of different military leaders from all levels of the military. And I'm just struck by the excellence and the integrity of that place, of West Point. It's totally inspiring. And I'm driving home, I left up there at 9:30 p.m. It was a 3.5 hour drive home. So I got home at 1:30 because I had to stop. So in the whole way home, I'm like thinking, strategizing, and then Dredd and I are talking. And I'm actually going to create an episode about this and go in depth. But Dredd hits me up at like 12:40 and says, "Hey, I just woke up. If you're still driving, let's talk." And then we just go at it. What'd you learn, Spaniard? Well, I'll tell you what I learned, and we'll tie this into what we learned from Kevin Hart. Well, then let's tie this into what we learned from Leif and Jocko and the rest of the team there, and let's tie this into what we learned from Stephen King, and then let's tie this into what we learned from Aubrey Marcus, and then let's tie what we learned from Bear Grylls and Relentless and all these other books that I read. It's like, it's freaking there. And you really just got to take it, right? You got to take it in your own hands. You got to create your quiet storm. And then the last bullet point that I'm going to talk about, this just makes me smile. It makes me smile because it makes me think of my parents. And, my mom, I'm the youngest, and I'm her baby. And I get busted on by my family for that. And, I am the youngest child, so I don't know. I'm the youngest child. I don't know. I'm the youngest child, and I love my mom. My mom treated me really well. And it's funny because Kevin Hart talks about his mom a lot, and he pays her a lot of respect. And kind of the tough love that she gave him as a youngster resulted in something special, right? The big storm of Kevin Hart. And he says this. And this is, a little bit different than that idea, but to understand the context of his mother, right? And the special role that she played in his life and career. But then he says this out there, and I'm smiling because it's a reference to a mother, right? He says, "Only your mother thinks you're special. To all other people, you look the same as everyone else unless you make the effort to stand out. And that effort is always worth it. Only your mother thinks you're special. To everyone else, you look the same unless you make the effort to stand out, and that effort is always worth it." So how do you stand out? How are you standing out, right? So if this were a classroom and I was conducting a class based off this week's What I Learned Doc, I would ask you that, like, how are you making yourself stand out? How are you setting yourself apart? Who are people in the world, in whatever industry that you're in, who are the people that are setting themselves apart? And how do they set themselves apart? There's a variety of ways to do it. And there's one that's right for you, right? There's one that's right for me. There's one that's right for Frankie Edgar, and there's one that's right for Conor McGregor. They're quite different. But they fit that person. Then there's a lot of fake people who try to be like Conor McGregor. And it's like, well, you look like a dummy. You look silly because that's not truly you. But if you're able to find that mix of you and do it, that's your best bet. And kind of break the fourth wall a little bit. I know that my biggest strength is my discipline and stick-to-itiveness. I truly believe that I can out-discipline. I mean, the only person that I feel, it's like Frankie sets the bar, right? Frankie sets the bar. But I've learned that I can out-discipline 99.9% of the world. So if I just keep doing what I'm doing, then eventually I'll win. It doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need to be whatever. I understand that about me. If we have a contest, who's going to wake up at 3 in the morning? The longest, I'll wake up for 3 until I die of exhaustion. Like it's just a thing, a decision that you make. But you've got to figure out, like, what's your way? How are you setting yourself? Is it your discipline that's setting yourself apart? Is it your energy? Is it your physical ability? Maybe your size? Maybe you're gifted with size and you're adding on to that size. Is it your habilidad de hablar español y francés y inglés y todas estas lenguas? Like, can you speak a bunch of languages? Are you setting yourself apart that way? Setting yourself apart by being the first one to show up and the last one to leave? Are you setting yourself apart by being a loudmouth, but being a loudmouth who backs up every freaking thing he says? That's for you to figure out. I don't know the answer. You don't know the answer. But that's for you to it'll buff out, right? But you got to keep trying. Understand, you've got to make the effort. There's no other way to it. It ain't just going to happen. This is, what I learned 77. Today was AMX 565. There's no end in sight. I don't think I'll ever stop. Maybe I'll pivot. I don't know. But I just know that until that day, You don't know what you don't know. So until that day, all I know is I'm going to just keep going. And I hope you keep going, my friends. And I hope you enjoyed this week's What I Learned. Some ways that you could help support the show. Leaving a review on iTunes. That's a very big help. I've been stuck at, under 100 for quite a while. So that would be a big help there. Visit my website, check out the speaking programs, check out the, opt in the email address to get the What I Learned This Week document. Direct connection with me. Follow on social media at Charlie Spaniard. And one of the biggest things is just word of mouth. If you're enjoying this, tell your friend to listen. Say, hey, subscribe to the Spaniard Show. It's a kick butt show. That's it, my friends. I sincerely appreciate it. It's 10:27 in the PM as I'm wrapping this up. Hope you all have a great weekend. Kick some butt, my friend. See ya. I hope that audio file. Audio file, where are you? That would really stink if the audio file is not there. Because it kind of just disappeared. And if it disappeared, it's going to be a long night. I think it's working. I hope it's working. All right. Yeah, so that's that, my friends. I'm going to, fingers crossed that this is actually working. Thank you, Larry. If it didn't work, I'm going to have to extract the audio from this Facebook Live video, which could be a pain in my buttski. Rocky says buttski. My son says buttski. It's so funny. All right. I'll see you. Well, here, let's do this together. Let's figure this out. Let's see if it worked. This probably isn't very exciting. Good Saturday afternoon, my friends. This is a Spaniard. I'm recording on Friday night, so it's 10:03 p.m. on Friday night on Facebook Live. My eyes are currently going. I'm like it. Nope. She did not record. Well, she recorded for 6 minutes, but that's it. Well, my friends, I gotta figure out how to do this. See you on the flip side.